And so rather than beating ourselves up today, I want to give us two actions from Joseph's life that we could imitate, and hopefully that'll help us out. Number one, Joseph took a risk. Now, before you get carried away, I'm not talking about a financial risk here, okay? But it was risky for Joseph to go before the Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, and speak on behalf of the one true God. That's risky. In today's culture, it's risky for us, I think, even to speak on behalf of the one true God, to stand up for God among our friends, in our schools, in our workplaces, with our families. It's risky. It was especially risky for Joseph because the king could have had his head right then and there. As a church, we are not commissioned, I'm glad we do it, but we are not commissioned to produce feel-good worship experiences or to keep a steady flow of events and dinners for the saints. That's not what we're called to do. What are we called to do? To seek and to save the lost. And man, that is risky. And sometimes we've got to be risky to make that happen. It's risky when a plane leaves the runway. We saw that with UPS this week, right? It's risky when a plane leaves the runway, but that's what planes are for, right? It's riskier for the plane to just sit there and accumulate rust. It's risky when a ship leaves the harbor, but that's what ships are for, right? It's riskier when a ship just sits in the harbor and collects barnacles. It's risky when Jesus followers reach beyond the four walls of our church building, but that's what the church is for. It's riskier when the only proof the world has of us being Christians are the rear end prints we've left in our seats. The church is the only avenue for the hope of the future, right? We have the only answer for the future. It's only through the church that the world can hear about Jesus, who is the only hope for all of eternity. This is it right here, folks. We are the hope for all of eternity. And so we've got to take a risk. That's why our vision is to be a church of real people finding real hope. Like, we've got to get that out there. We've got to get that message out there. So we need to take a risk for Jesus. Like Joseph did in front of the Pharaoh. Jesus himself said in Mark chapter 8, what does it benefit someone to gain the whole world? You can have everything you want, but yet lose your life. Man, we got to be risky for Jesus. It doesn't begin with our wallets. It begins in our hearts. So let's take a risk. Second observation of Joseph is he was always giving God the glory. Always giving God the glory. And everything. At 30 years of age. You look at Joseph's whole story, even down at the end when Joseph's brothers finally came back and said, oh man, we're sorry. And they thought that he was going to do them in. And he's like, no, don't worry. This was all God. God had a plan. He gave God the glory. But at 30 years of age, in Genesis chapter 41, Joseph realized it wasn't about him. Look at verses 15 and 16. Back toward the beginning of the chapter, Pharaoh said to Joseph, I've had a dream and no one can interpret it, but I've heard it said about you, Joseph, that you can hear a dream and interpret it. Joseph says, I'm not able to. Could you imagine if he stopped right there? I can't do it. But he goes on, it is God. It is God who will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. I can't, but God can. Maybe for some of us, our past doesn't look too good. Maybe we've had a history of spiritual mistakes, poor financial decisions, careless spending, measly giving, whatever that looks like, sin in our lives. Maybe some of us are in a rough situation right now due to unforeseen circumstances. Guess what? I can't, but God can. Maybe your balance sheet doesn't look very good, like it looks incredibly bleak and there's a famine in your checkbook. I can't, but God can. Maybe you've dug yourself a huge financial hole. Man, you don't know how you're going to get out of that, and it looks like the ugly cows have swallowed up the good-looking cows, and it's swallowed up everything you've got. Guys, I can't. Yes, I can't, but God can. Jesus said it is difficult. It is difficult for the wealthy to enter the kingdom of God. In fact, a camel has a better chance of going through what? An eye of a needle, right? But then, just a couple of verses in that same passage, what does Jesus say? With God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. I can't. God can. God can. So, is it really, I mean, we come back right full circle here. Is it really in God we trust? Really? Or maybe we're looking for the next bailout. Maybe we're looking at bankruptcy. Maybe we're looking at the stimulus package, or maybe we're looking for our SNAP benefits to come through, or the government to get back to work. I don't know what that is, but on my own, I can't endure financial famine. I can't, but God can.